Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of Law and Reason. Today, we delve into a topic that has sparked curiosity and controversy alike. Why does Trump want to acquire Greenland from the Danes and Canada from the Canadians? This program is titled, Law and Reason, because we strive to address public issues through legal reasoning and rational thought, steering clear of the extremes of the left and the right. In today's chapter, we will explore the strategies employed by populist leaders. To avoid overly abstract discussions, we will use a specific example: Trump's ambitions regarding Greenland and Canada. It is fascinating to ponder what goes through the minds of individuals like Donald Trump. Shortly after becoming president, he expressed a desire to sort out Greenland, claiming he wanted it to belong to America. Does he intend to buy it? And what about Canada, an independent nation? Does he envision it becoming another state of the United States? You might wonder why such seemingly outlandish statements are made. Why provoke discussions that could lead to conflict or appear so absurd that they are hard to take seriously? Why engage in such grandiloquent rhetoric? It is important to remember that a populist leader rallies the masses' emotions against the elites. Notice that most systems with authoritarian and populist tendencies tend to focus on what can be described as grand plans. These grand plans involve either conquering something, building something, or any ambition associated with greatness. Essentially, they are visions of greatness. Looking back at history, particularly when we examine the rhetoric of great leaders in totalitarian systems, such as the Nazi regime, we see a clear pattern. When Hitler was in power, he made bold declarations about who he would conquer. At that time, perhaps no one took those statements too seriously. While some have taken them to heart, we may also misinterpret what figures like Trump say today, which could be wrong. Hitler's promises also had a powerful mobilizing effect. Ordinary right-wing governments are also known to harbor dreams of greatness, even if we look past totalitarian or populist systems to them. Across various countries, populist politics are consistently driven by a grand vision to do something remarkable, serving as a tool for elevating national pride. Friedrich Nietzsche would certainly say that these people manifest something called the desire to externalize their will, to expose the will to rule and the will to show strength, also the vital strength, which is characteristic of people who have such a dream of being great men, of being above the people. Let's not underestimate this, of course. Someone may say that this is just talk about building bigger airports, digging a spit, or annexing Greenland or Canada. These are things that are typical propaganda. And they are supposed to be propaganda, because what are great plans in society for? Great plans in society are primarily for this society to feel better. To suppose it has the power to be no longer on its knees. This drive for power, which will be someone great, has a great effect on people's well-being. Because if we are in apathy, if we are in a situation of helplessness or a lack of agency, we feel like anyone. At what point will we build large airports? When we dig trenches and threaten someone, we appear more important in our dreams. Don't underestimate how important this is. A populist leader is responsible for mobilizing the masses and their emotions to keep them constantly engaged. The reason why populists won't be satisfied with the idea of hot water in the tap is precisely because of this. The idea of hot water in the tap is an idea in which citizens are to live as they live, peacefully raise their children, take their dogs for walks, drive cars to and from work, and on the weekend go for a run or kayak. Everyone is fine, nice and cozy. Well, in populist power it can't be nice and cozy, because when everything is good, when there's hot water in the tap, something to put in the pot, and generally there's nothing to worry about, emotions subside. In populist power, they can't subside because when there are no emotions, there's no way to mobilize people against some common enemy, there's no way to mobilize people to go to the polls, and there's no way to mobilize them to support what the leader says. And now a very interesting phenomenon is emerging. Let's take for example the project of the large CPK airport. When it was announced by Law and Justice as a populist power in Poland, it was very often ridiculed by their opposition, that it was just so big, that nothing was happening, that it was only about promoting emotions. In the case of democratic parties, which are not at odds with the rule of law, Do not try to be populist and do not turn the masses against the elites, if it is itself a party of elites. In connection with this party has a problem, because, on the one hand, it does not want to fool around and does not want to proclaim some great ideas. A certain cynicism and such skepticism are characteristic of intelligent people, in connection with which great words and great ideas often send shivers down their spines. In connection with this, such huge projects and huge propaganda ideas are generally not their style, but on the other hand, they live in a world of societies that have already become accustomed to something like this, that want it to happen, that want such things to be implemented. I have emphasized many times that these great plans are such a tool for uniting people because suddenly everyone is thinking about one thing, about whether we will do it, whether we will implement it. Uniting around grand projects is typical of the masses. Hence the idea to organize the Olympic Games, maybe organize the World Championships? People need these plans, grand plans, and the problem is that the populist government is finding them out like crazy. Trump says, Greenland, Canada. And people only focus on that. Everyone talks about it, everyone thinks about it. This is a special style of managing human emotions. Democratic, non-populist governments cannot do that, do not come up with such issues, do not come up with such ideas and unfortunately often lose. For populist parties, it does not matter, unlike democratic parties, whether these grand plans will be implemented or not. And there is a big problem with that. What can parties come up with that set the rule of law and telling the truth as their first goal? Sporting events make sense, because they are peaceful, at least no one has to declare war to organize the Olympics, just like Trump will probably have to declare war to annex Canada. But such ideas would be needed because you need collective thinking, some goal, some plan. Something that causes people to organize around it. Populists in particular come up with big ideas, not necessarily, as I say, attacking foreign nations, but something that will satisfy this need for this big thinking, this striving to be strong. You can't underestimate this, and I generally think that especially in presidential campaigns, people are fond of such plans. If they hear a candidate who simply says that he wants things to be normal, they will yawn, they will fall asleep, and such a candidate will lose. Let's end with the conclusion that great populist leaders practically cannot get up in the morning without coming up with a great idea, a great plan. It doesn't matter that it is realistic, it doesn't matter that it can be implemented. What is important is that it is great, that people start talking about it, that they start thinking, that they think to themselves, if he is so bold in his thinking, then he must be strong. And if he is strong, he will take care of us. You can't underestimate this. I'm not even mentioning that of course in this matter of Trump, Greenland and Canada there is still such great mischief, which people also like. Of course not all people, but people who create a normal society, no, some elite society. Such feistiness, such messages, unfortunately, are associated with some playgrounds and schoolyards, where we simply have the strongest in the class or at school, who want to show everyone that they will beat them, they like them. Unfortunately, we live in such times that strength is confused with agency. And vitality becomes the most important message that people want to hear from their leader. In conclusion, let's not laugh at Greenland, let's not laugh at Kenyatta, and let's not laugh at the desire to annex Canada to the United States. If someone wants to fight populism, they have to be a bit populist, they have to come up with a great plan for the community, because first of all, it restores dignity, because people think, we are strong, we are a great nation, we do incredible things. And secondly, it restores the community. People focus on some goal, something, they want to achieve something, and it gives them a sense of being together, as well as a sense of happiness.